There's a consultation in place by TfL about Oxford Street and pedestrianisation. I'm down here with a Real LTDA who have a signage issue. Joe, what's happening down here?
Well, it come to our attention as drivers that's using Oxford Street that the total lack of signage prohibiting other vehicles from using it, which should only be taxis, buses and cycles.
So what's changed there, do you think?
Because of the signage is missing. You know, that we got to notice that every PHV and lorry and God knows what was going up Oxford Street, and obviously it's changed because the signage is missing. They can't enforce it if there's no signage.
So in your research about it, who was responsible for this?
Well, that was a bit of a tricky one. We finally got to the end of it. First of all, we contacted Westminster City Council, of course, and they denied it. I've actually got factual evidence on that, and they said it was TfL. Again, we sent emails to TfL about the problem, and they said no, it was Westminster City Council's problem.
If you had to speculate on the big picture here, what do you think's going on?
Well, it became quite obvious to me and my colleague here that while the signage has been missing, there has been a consultation by Westminster and TfL about the pedestrianisation of Oxford Street, and of course that is all based on exhaust emissions. And we quickly realised that there was something afoot, and that, you know, if every other vehicle is using Oxford Street along with us and the buses, prohibited vehicles should, you know, that the whole consultation must be flawed, must be.
I'm just going to go down to Oxford Street now with the Real LTDA and look at these main junctions that are causing the problem. Remember, these are secret signs. Signage that should be in place, but we've been told have fallen into disrepair. So we'll go down there and have a look at what's going on. So you spoke to TfL,
yes.
You've spoke to Westminster Council,
yes.
You've done FOIs,
yes.
And what are the results of your inquiries?
The results of the inquiries so far is a replacement of that singular bulb underneath the arrow. That is it.
And that is it.
And this is coming direct from a connection that we have, and we've been going to and fro with a Serena Richardson at TfL. She assured us that the engineers had gone out. She assured us that the engineers had fixed all the signage. And obviously we came back the next day, nothing is done apart from one bulb. We explained, and she said again, you know, the engineers have fixed it. And no, they haven't. We asked her for the engineer's report, of which hasn't actually come through, to actually see what the engineer did fix apart from one bulb.
Well, there you go. Now, it's obvious there would have to be a collaboration between Westminster and TfL. TfL wants to pedestrianise Oxford Street, and this is a Westminster road. But is this an engineered collaboration between the two to manufacture certain on Oxford Street? It seems so. That one bulb has been replaced in that small sign, but nothing has been done about the major bulb there.
They're movable signs, so they're on like a rotatory system, and they actually change, or should be changing, per restrictions. And as you can see, they're just off, which means, again, they've not been working for 2 years.
2 years?
2 years.
Now, not unlike our taxis, the conditions of fitness says if it's fitted, it has to be in working order. Now, not unlike these signs, they're not in working order. What's the consequences of that here on Oxford Street?
The consequences are that you cannot issue a ticket without the right signage in place, because obviously if you give a ticket, they're going to complain, didn't see the signage, no signage, so you cannot give out a ticket. Now, no tickets have been given out for 2 years, and it seems very strange that if you are going to take away a sign for 2 years, the amount of revenue you must be losing when the bank junction collected in £200,000 in a week. So they must be losing a fortune, and the question is, why are they willing to lose that amount of money if there isn't a longer term plan?
So there you have it. Although you've got the smaller sign there, because the bigger sign is in place, it's not working, they couldn't enforce any of the restrictions on Oxford Street. And like he said, it begs the question, why? Whilst on the surface it might seem like this isn't an issue of such magnitude, when you scratch below the surface you realise that there are dire consequences to this kind of traffic modelling. Effectively, if the signs were still being enforced, then it would only be taxis and buses using it. Now, if they recorded data that showed fewer emissions and less congestion than neighbouring streets, then it would be far more difficult to justify pedestrianisation. And pedestrianisation is a headache for us, simply because we are being excluded. Now, if it gets to the point where fewer people use us because we are being excluded, then we are deemed inefficient. And inefficiency perpetuates future traffic modelling policy. So with the restrictions on Oxford Street, we dismiss them at our peril.